Okay, so we're on the line with Dean Amasinger. Dean, how you doing?
Yeah, very well, thanks, mate.
Okay.
Yeah, enjoy my Saturday.
Yeah, sounds good to me, mate. We've got you on the line to talk about and promote your upcoming fight with Jermaine Facey on October the 23rd. I'm assuming training's going well?
Yeah, training's been going wicked. It's been a long camp because I've, coming back from injury and stuff, I started off, pretty slowly, just getting back into things.
Yeah.
So it was like a longer camp than I, normally would have done. And I was hoping to fight in September, and I started to give it a bit more time. So I ended up, doing nearly like 15 weeks sort of camp basically.
Yeah.
But I've been in great shape, and like I said, everyone's got fights coming up in the next few weeks or so. And it's been a great atmosphere in the gym, and it's been a good intensity. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the training camp that you're doing, is there a lot of guys that are training for fights right now, all kind of aiming in the same direction?
Yeah, I mean, in the next 3 weeks, we've got 5 rough house guys fighting. Jimmy's fighting next Thursday, Dan's fighting the Saturday at UFC 120,
Yeah.
I'm fighting the Saturday after that, and then 2 weeks after that, Andre and Nick are fighting in Germany on the 122 card.
Okay.
So we're all like peaking similar sort of time, and that's what I mean about, the intensity. When everyone's got fights coming up, everyone's getting in shape, and that means that sparring rounds, we could do more sparring rounds together because no one having rounds out, and it's just like a good intensity where everyone's trying to push each other, and there's a bit of, there's always that competitiveness in the gym, although we're all, great friends and that, but there's a level of competitiveness that we just, and an intensity that just brings the best out of us, basically.
Sounds good. So can we expect to see you down at the UFC card at the O2 this week?
Yeah, I'm cornering Dan in his fight against Condit. So I'll be down there for that, and I think I'm cornering James Wilkes as well. So I'll be down 120 and checking it out definitely.
Just out of interest, before we kind of really get into your backstory, I know you do a lot of cornering for a lot of the guys. Do you feel that kind of helps with your own preparations, or is it a little bit of a distraction, or?
No, it's definitely not a distraction. I really like it. I take it really seriously. It's not just, I don't just turn up and start shouting stuff.
Sure.
If I'm going to corner someone and someone asks me to corner, I take it real seriously. I always watch video. I'll try and send them, an email or something, or at least talk about what I've seen in watching videos and of the person they're fighting, and then help working on game plan. It's more than just turning up and
Sure.
being there for the action corner. So I take it as a whole role sort of thing, and that helps. I think analysing fights and stuff. I've done it a lot now. I've cornered nearly 11 UFC fights on top of all the other fights that I've done. That just helps in my preparation. So when I'm coming to fight someone, obviously my coach is doing that for me, and my teammates are looking at the video. But then also when I'm doing it, helps me analysing people's game and what they're doing, because I don't just go in there and have a tear up.
Yeah.
I like to think of what I'm doing and then put something together.
Yeah, surely it only helps as well, because obviously you're cornering guys that are fighting, world-class fighters, and it can only help in terms of getting your head around how to prepare and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, because my sort of mentality is, we're all training people, we're in the thick of it together. So my mentality is like theirs. I'm aiming for the same place, and
Sure.
And so I'm looking at fighters at that level, thinking, well, I can do this against them, or I can do that, and it's a good place to be. I feel, I definitely feel grateful for the training partners I have and the situation I'm in, and the proximity I am to the UFC, and how close it is, obviously from my experience at TUF, but then also now from cornering and stuff, I'm right in the thick of it, so it's good.
Absolutely. So the future looks bright for Dean Amasinger. So we've talked a little bit about sort of what you do in terms of preparations, helping other people. Let's talk about a little bit about Dean Amasinger as a product and kind of your background. When did you first kind of start getting into MMA, and when did you kind of decide this is what you wanted to do?
MMA, I suppose, properly, was like when I came up to university in Nottingham.
Right.
And I was up in Nottingham, doing my degree, and then and I'd already done martial arts from a young age, and I'd liked the UFC, and I'd watched it, and I've done bits and pieces, because I've done judo and wrestling as well when I was a teenager, and I've done a bit bits and pieces, just a few guys get together in the gym that have done it's just, I wouldn't say anything proper, but I used to do it once in a while, and I used to like it, and I've always liked fighting. And then, but then when I came to Nottingham, I met a guy called Paul Davis, and he was coaching Bisping and Paul Daly, and they were just training like a community centre. And I met him at the gym, and I just started chatting to him. He was like, "I'll come down and get involved." So I went down, did a few training sessions, and loved it. And then Paul and Dan basically said, "Oh, we're doing a few extra sessions in the day. Why don't you come along?" So I missed a few lectures and did that. Went down, got involved, and obviously they thought I was a good training partner. I was naturally athletic and strong and stuff, and I've always taken to grappling, really well, and I've had a striking background. They thought I was a good training partner, so invited me down more, and then I just kept on going. And then once I graduated, I just sort of, by then I'd obviously been spending a lot of time training, and they said I had a talent for it, and I thought I did as well. And I thought I've got to go for this, because I didn't want to be one of those guys, that gets to 40 years old and be like, I could have been a fighter. I was a bit tasty when I was younger. I went for it, and luckily it's worked out. And I've always wanted to be a professional athlete, and I was going down that rugby route. That didn't work out because of injury, and now I've got this opportunity now, and I'm a professional athlete doing something I love, so it's awesome.
Okay. All right. So fast forward, The Ultimate Fighter. It's kind of an old wives' tale with you now in terms of your upcoming, and you fought Alex Reid. So 2009, you fought Alex Reid. Did you know a lot about Alex Reid before you fought him for the qualifier?
Of course. All the rubbish aside now, I mean, it's good that he fought since it's all happened, to be honest, and I think he's gained a lot of people's respect after he fought the way he fought against Tom. But when I fought him, when I beat him, that was the biggest scout of my career, because when I was going to Cage Rage and when I was going to Cage Rage and watching all those shows, he was headlining them.
Sure.
He fought Ninja Rua, I was there for that one. He fought Jorge Rivera, and I knew back in the day he fought Lee Murray. He's someone I really respect, and in the distance of him. And Mark Weir, all these guys.
Yeah.
And although his record, I mean, it's not a bad record, but although his record wasn't the best, he's been in there with some really tough guys.
Sure.
He's probably one of the most better known British fighters that aren't in the UFC. At that time when I fought him, so I definitely knew who he was, and I thought, it's going to be a tough fight, and I was really proud of the win. It was definitely a big win for me.
I mean, for anyone listening who's seen the fight, Alex Reid certainly comes in as the cocky, confident kind of fighter. He's talking to you throughout the fight, and he's trying to bait you a little bit throughout the fight.
It was definitely some mental games in there, because I was still pretty new to the sport. The whole TF experience, I'm sure we'll cover a bit more, but the whole TF experience like a growing thing for me. I really grew up into it, and sort of, I was a bit naive before that, and about my training methods, and just about what it took to be a pro fighter, basically.
Sure.
But I went into that, and I definitely looked at, the whole situation sort of got to me a bit with, I'm walking to the UFC octagon.
Yeah.
Dana White's there, Dan Henderson, Bisping, and Rich Franklin, and then Dan Modiata's in there, do you know what I mean, wrestling and all that. And it was at that point, although I was a fighter, I was still a fan of the UFC.
Sure.
So it all happened so quick, and it was like I said, pretty overwhelming. But I came out of it, and it wasn't too bad.
Okay. So you go through the fight with Alex Reid, you qualify for the show, you start filming the show. I mean, in terms of the preparation and the training that you've done, certainly the training that we saw on the show, was it very similar to the training you was doing anyway, or was it a big difference, or?
It was similar. The sort of format. It was just the thing with the intensity, and then also not having anything else to do.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I was still working at the time, and I train and then go to work and then come back, and there was loads of distractions. When you're in the house, it was just I proper felt like a professional athlete.
Yeah.
And that was the difference. And I was wrestling properly, able to eat properly. They would give literally anything you asked for food, in terms of food. And it was it couldn't have been a better training environment.
Sure.
Except for not having music, it was literally the best camp sort of situation you could wish for.
Yeah.
And Bisping's a great coach. Mario and You know, the other guy there, Dave Jackson, he another great coach, and there was good opportunity to train with other people. And then also having, you know, 8 guys that were all similar sort of weights, either lightweight or welterweight, who were all at a certain level, which is pretty rare to have in a gym. And so the training was just of a real high level. There was no easy rounds. You know, that was another aspect of it that really sort of brought my game on, the training with all these guys.
Sure, absolutely. So, I mean, you was in there with some, you know, a lot of the guys were kind of making waves. James Wilkes had been around for a while by the time he got onto the show. You know, you had Ross Pearson, who's doing really well now. Nick, who I know is a good friend of yours. I mean, in terms of the 7 other guys that were in there with you, I know you still maintain good relationships with some of them, but are you still in contact with all of them, or is it, you know?
Literally in contact with every single one of them. You know, Stakes is out in Afghanistan at the moment, so I'm not having much contact with him, obviously.
Yeah.
But, you know, before that, you know, he fought in Nottingham, so he, you know, came to mine, you know, afterwards and stuff, and we still keep in contact by phone. Ross, Dre, Nick, are obviously in my team, so I see them all the time, and I called him Ross in his last fight. James Wilkes is over at the moment, doing preparation with us guys, and you know, I went out to America and trained with him at his gym, so I'm still good friends with him. And then Jeff Lawson, I'm still in contact with him. We have the same manager, and me and Jeff got on really good in the house, and we're still in contact. Dave, I've probably seen the least. I've only seen him once since the show, but we've both just had kids, so we've been like keeping track of, you know, when the babies are born and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm in contact with all. I'm obviously better friends with some more than others, but we are definitely in contact with all of them. It's a big experience to sort of go through, and you're not just gonna forget about it. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, let's talk about. I mean, I don't want to go on too much about the show. Obviously, we want to live in the here and now. But you know, I'm sure you've been asked about it before, and you know, the big thing about your experience in the show, in terms of your fight with DeMarcus Johnson, was the whole Bisping ordeal and him kind of not showing up. I mean, in hindsight, looking back at it now, I mean, what are your feelings in terms of what happened there? And
well, I mean. Me and Mike, we're good friends now. We've been out on a few nights, we trained together and stuff, and like, you know, he's a mate of mine, and there's no animosity about it. But at the time, although it affected me, and there's no two ways about it, I definitely know it affected me. What I learned from it was that it shouldn't have affected me.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I should have been able to, no matter what, just get on with it.
Yeah.
And like Paul, Daly, obviously, he always cornered me for my fights. Right. And before that, I'd had a bit of a dependence on him. He gave me a bit of confidence walking into the cage with him. Yeah. You know, Paul's done all what he's done, and it was, you know, it was good. You know, he's like my mentor, basically. He sort of, you know, brought me in and that. And then so when I went to into the house, sort of Mike I saw the way he was warming up other guys, and he was similar to the way, you know, Paul gets me psyched up, and I thought, oh, this is going to be wicked. Yeah. I sort of looked at him in the same way, because, you know, you definitely you've got to look up to Mike for what he's done in the sport.
Absolutely.
And to not be there, it wasn't so much that he wasn't there, it's just that before the fight, rather than thinking, right, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I was asking, oh, is Mike here yet? Yeah. Or, you know,
just kind of a little bit of a disruption to your preparations.
Yeah, I was just distracted.
Yeah.
And I should have had the mental focus and the mental strength to just be like, that doesn't matter, get on with it, you've got a job to do. Do you know what I mean? That's what I should have been like. So there's no blame there, because it's not, you know what I mean? It's not like it's his fault, because really it's down to me to, you know, have that, and I've addressed that, and that's a thing that I've definitely, like I said, I was naive, and, you know, I've grown up from the situation. I feel much better for it, and I'm thankful for everything that happened. I don't see any situation as a bad situation, because you can learn from it.
Sure.
And I felt like I have, so it's all good.
Just possibly not an experience you wanted to do on live TV in front of
people. that was the thing. A few million people saw it, and a few million people saw me get submitted, but who cares?
One thing I will say to you, in your credit, despite the loss, I mean, you still went through the whole process with the Ultimate Fighter. You stayed in the house, and you know, we was watching your blogs every single week on what was going on in the house. So a credit to you is that, you know, you absolutely took everything you can from that experience.
Well, that's what it was. You know, I sort of as soon as it happened, because there's so much pressure, it's like a pressure pot in there.
Sure.
It's so hard to explain what it's like in there. But once I lost that fight, and I was no longer, you know, able to win the show, which I'd only gone in there to do that.
Sure.
It was like a weight was off my shoulder, and then I thought, right, well, now what can I get out of this situation? I've got to train as hard as I can, be there for the other guys, be a good training partner, and try and learn as much as I can while I'm here. And that's what I did, and you know, it worked out great. So.
Okay, excellent stuff.